morning and welcome to my channel, Open Heart Journaling. We're in our 21-day lockdown, and so I said to my friends that I would do some videos for them that they can follow, because we normally get together every single week and play together, and now obviously we can't do that. So I'm using some Art by Marlene stamps as well as the stencils, but of course you can use any stamps, any stencils you want and get the same effect. Also, if you don't have the Art by Marlene, you can actually just go on the internet, type in mandala flowers in Pinterest, so that's mandala, M-A-N-D-A-L-A, flowers, and it'll come up with a lot of ideas, and then you can copy them over to a program where you can print them. So you can do that instead. So first of all, I'm just going to do a stamp some of these on some paper. Like a cardboard paper, so that it's thick enough to cut out and use as an embellishment. I'm using my Archival inks, which are not water soluble. In other words, when you put water on them, they won't, obviously they won't run. Let me just move my camera a bit. See, we're not actually seeing the page and exactly what I'm doing there. Sorry, I'm new at this, so I'm still learning. Just lift it up a little bit more there. Alright, I think that's better. Alright. So let's just put ink on this one. I find it's good to use a soft spongy surface underneath. It helps the stamp to push down onto the paper better. Let's hope that this comes out right. There we go. Now that came out great. Alright, let's do one of the smaller ones as well. And when you stamp, it's always best to apply the ink to the stamp and not try to push your stamp down on your ink. Oh, there we are. They came out quite nicely. See, that sponge underneath actually really helps, I find, to push the stamp down. If I need some more, I think maybe I should do another one. I don't know if it'll fit on there. Let me try. Let's try fit one more on. And then I've got enough. It's going to almost fit. That's fine. I can use it like that. Let's put these stamps aside. I like to look after my stamps. They're expensive, and I use them a lot. Alright, then I just want to put down my net here. Now I have taken some of my sprays, my bright coloured sprays, alright, and I have put them into here and added water so that they thin down so that I want to do a watercolour effect. I've also done, this one has got a little bit of shimmer in it. Right, and we almost go, I want to be able to see the black lines, so I don't want to cover them with acrylic. That's just not going to work. Right, so I'm going to use a thinnish brush, and I'm just going to start and then it'll actually soak into the paper. Alright, I'm going to stop talking now, because what I'm going to do is when I edit this, I'm actually going to fast forward it. And if I fast forward it while I'm talking, you're going to hear Alright, so now we have finished our painting. Alright, these are the ones marked by Marlene stamps. These are the ones just off the internet. Alright. Okay. So some of them I'm going to cut out whole, a whole flower like this one. Others I'm going to actually separate them. So I want this flower on its own. And then I'm going to cut out everything separate. This one I'm also going to cut the flower out. This one, yeah, I'm going to separate into pieces. This one too. I'm just going to go around in a circle first. So as you can see, you don't have to use Art by Marlene stamps. You can use mandalas off the internet and get the same effect. So you have now cut out everything. Alright, I've cut, this is what I've ended up with. And then a whole lot of little pieces like this. Alright, I must still decide how this all goes together. You could make them into flowers, other flowers. Or we could use them as leaves. You can also put them on top of the flowers that are here already, maybe to give a 3D effect. Alright, but first of all let's put some colour on our page. Let's do a background. Alright, now some of you here in South Africa may have watched Journl Nolte. She is doing 21 days of ink, and she did a page with, actually did tags with her normal Versa inks with bleach. So I thought we'd use this because I think some of you were wanting to try that effect anyway. So let's just, you know what, I would be very clever if maybe I'd rather use my blenders instead of doing this. Let's rather use my blenders. Alright, so let's rather blend. Ah, that definitely looks better than just splodging it on the way I was. And then I change my sponge. Let's get some green on. That green is not looking too good. Looks like I've put other stuff, colours on with the green. Alright, and then let's put some yellow. If you blend it in, you'll get a little bit of orange where it hits the red, which is nice. And where it hits the green, you get an even more yellowy green, which is also nice. Alright, so we're doing a very simple background. I'm just using a bit of yellow now, quite a bit of yellow, because yellow blends into everything and just gives it that nice happy look, which I think we need a little bit of that over this 21 days here in South Africa while we're on lockdown. Let's just put my lids back on so I don't dry out my inks. So put my page up a bit. There we are. Now I like to use a fan brush when I'm doing splashes. I'm dipping it in the bleach. Just take a bigger paintbrush and I'm going to splash. Alright, I see this is not quite working the way I hoped it would. You can see it happening. I think maybe I need to dry it. Let's see what happens when I dry it. Maybe we'll get the same effect now. Okay, I can see it happening. It's not as pronounced. I did do one on a piece of paper. I think the problem is that this paper is more absorbent. This paper here was less absorbent, and you can see the effect was much more pronounced. This is a smooth card, whereas the book I'm using is Dina, and I think the inks have basically absorbed in more to the paper, and that's why they aren't giving you that same effect, because they're not sitting on top of the paper. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use a bit of paint. I'm just going to use my white gesso. And just put white spots instead. So I think what would have been better is if I'd actually gessoed this page first, because then then the ink would have sat on top of the gesso and I would have got the alcohol ink effect. So ladies, if you're wanting to get the alcohol ink effect and the paper that you're using is absorbent, then gesso it first. Hey, we live and learn. Learn something new. That's how you learn. You learn by playing. Let's just dry this. obviously I end up with a little bit of texture with the white paint, which I wouldn't have had with the alcohol effect. So if you prefer that, you also just use white paint. The alcohol has bleached it here and there. It's just not as obvious as I'd hoped. If I do a bit of a close-up, just be patient with me. This is not my forte. Just trying to, okay, let's try and do a zoom in. Ooh, there we go. I hope you can see. Maybe we should just lift the page up. There's you can actually see at times it's got a more whiter look to it, and on the yellow it's I suppose it's helped to blend it. I mean, there you can see it's actually, it has blended it in, so yeah, it actually gives it a more blended effect, which is nice. Zoom out again. Alright then, I'm going to use the Art by Marlene stencil, but of course you may use whatever stencil you prefer. I was going to stencil in white, but now that I think black might be a better idea, now that I've got white spots. So I just use acrylic black. I then use a sponge. Let me just find a sponge. Alright, now when I do put acrylic, because it depends, acrylic isn't as runny as some products. You also get acrylic in different thicknesses. So the acrylic I've got here is not too thin, but I also don't want to put it on so thick that it actually runs through. So I take my sponge and I put a bit of paint on, and I actually dab it off, a little bit of off as well, just so that it's, and I do a bit of a dabbing effect to get it through the stencil. A little bit of dab and a slight rub. You know, we actually aren't getting a raised look like we would if we stenciled with a paste. It's, the paint actually ends up going on quite thinly. Okay, let's just put some spots. Spots are always good. And you can let it just fade slightly. Some smaller spots, just rub lightly, and maybe we can just put a little bit of this flower peeking out over here. I'm just doing it very lightly. It's almost like the image of it, shadow of it, than actually thick paint. Alright, remember, wash stencils straight in the water. I always keep a water bowl near me. Throw them straight in the water bowl, especially when you've used acrylic. It sticks. It dries and it actually goes hard, because it does have almost like a plasticky element in it. Alright, now let's just put these on. Let's do Basically, I think just use them like flowers today. Okay, then this one I'm actually going to cut it in half. You can actually have a flower going off the page there. And another one over there. Alright. Alright, so I just use my kids' glue from the stationers. Nothing very expensive. Right, the paper's a little bit curly from it having been wet, so I'm just pressing it down. Hold it a few moments. There we go. Let's put this one up there. It doesn't matter if it lifts up a little bit. It just gives it a little bit more of a 3D effect. So you see that by cutting these, we've actually ended up with, I know that actually I think I've got a little bit too much yellow on these, but I'll go over with a Koki, I'll show you, and just take away some of the yellow. Alright, then I'm going to use some water soluble pencils, and I'm just going to do some stems. These flowers, put a couple of different colours there. This one's a bit broken. Alright. And then I'll take my water brush, and then the colours blend together so that your stem isn't just one colour, it's got a few different colours in it. Alright, and then you can do that on all of them. Alright, so there we have our stems. Then we can use these as leaves. one out. I'll use it for something else. Let's put that one there. Alright, then I have these left. So what we can do is just do a pattern. I just want to let this dry for a moment and then I'll come back. Alright, I neatened up my page a little bit and now I'm actually going to go over with some of my pens where I feel that we actually need a bit more. I need to just change the colour slightly. These are also water soluble. So if I go over them with the wet brush, it just blends them in a little bit better, you know. You can also use water soluble crayons. I'm just using my Staedtler I just felt the page was just had a bit too much yellow in it. The fun thing about art journaling is you can use all your supplies. A lot of stuff that you bought for scrapping, you didn't use a lot when you were scrapping, but when you start with the art journaling, you can actually use them a lot more. And I think that here, just here, I think we need a bit more colour. And that flower, and I think we're all right. There we go. Now it's not quite as yellow. We've broken up that yellow a little bit, which looks much, much better. Alright, now I like to use the Poscas. They're not really available in South Africa very easily. You can order them from loot.co.za. Sometimes you're lucky and a scrapping shop will supply them. But they're actually acrylic ink in a pen form. So they work very nicely on top of your paints. Whereas a lot of the others, especially the thinner ones, the point just clogs up and doesn't work. This one I also found it, and in South Africa you'll know P&A. It's a V-sign pen, a Pilot. It's pure liquid ink. Also writes on top of anything. It's slightly thicker than the Poscas, but it works. So I'm going to highlight my stems a bit. And my leaves, just give them as you can see, I'm not perfect. I am not you see what I can do is if I'm feeling it's a little bit not quite what I'm wanting, I can go over it with some water and blend it a little bit. It's basically just to give the leaves a little bit more definition. I like to smudge the black, it gives it, then the lines aren't quite so harsh, and it tends to outline it quite nicely. Again, I'm going to use my Posca. Just go in, just define a few of these. Feel that these could do with a bit more definition. I hope you're all staying indoors and staying safe in this time. I of course had a disaster today because my kettle stopped working. I mean, of all the things, I mean, coffee keeps me alive. But I have an urn, so I just took, basically got coffee on tap now because I put the urn on and it stays hot all the time. So actually, in some ways it actually works better. You can see the Posca is just that bit thinner. The other pen was a little bit too thick. But like I said, if you do that, then just wet. A good idea is just to use a little bit of water and you just smudge it a bit. So I'm just going over with the black pen, just giving it a bit more definition. Then I'm going to go with my white Posca. You can see my lines are not perfect. I'm not, this is why art journaling suits me. I'm not a perfect drawer. I'm not an artist in the sense of everything has to be exact. If it's like that, unfortunately it does not work for me. And as I say in art journaling, there are no mistakes. What comes out on your page is an expression of yourself, and that is all that really matters. So it's still a little bit wet. I just want to dry it a bit. And that needs a bit more glue on. Just lifting up. It's quite wet. Didn't go through now. you don't have the white Posca pen, you can also use the ones we let me just find it. These also do work as long as you don't have a rough surface. So let's just use this one. I think most of you have this one at home. And if I find when it have a lot of paint, or then this one battles to write. But it's fine here because it's literally paper. The paper's flat. It's fine. It works. So you can use these at home. Let's just outline it a bit more. The white, it just sort of balances out the black. Going to outline these. You see it's not working quite as well. I've got a thick white Posca, which is also not working now. Let's just check what's happening there. I find with all these felt tip pens, they tend to stop working after a while. I think I'm just going to use my black one. No, it's actually better with the black. It outlines it nicely. Alright, I think that's basically it for using the pens. If you like, you can carry on and put some dots on. I mean, here we got this purple pen, I'm sure. If you want a few dots, you can put a few dots on. And the different colours that you've used, just to maybe finish your page off. These are the brush pens, the brush tips, so they work very nice like that. Just add this tiny bit more definition. It's up to you. You must play. And then I thought of just putting on some Art by Marlene. I quite like this butterfly. This butterfly might look quite nice on the page. Maybe on there. I love this little sausage dog. I thought the colours will actually go quite nicely. They're actually the same colours that I use. Got to be careful when you're taking out the ones that twirl and whirl around. just put a girl, a little girl or something like that. I don't know if she would, let's see what she will look like. She may look fine. She's floating away above the flowers. And she may look quite cute. And there we go. I think she looks quite cute. Let's put her in floating above the flowers. Put her over there. Don't want to cover too many of my flowers. Actually come over just a little bit. Let me just snip that off. That's my butter. And here's such a cute sausage dog. It's really so cute. A very, very long sausage dog. Indeed. And there you have it, ladies. Just see, let me maybe just go up a little bit. You can see the page. And thank you again for watching. Bye. Remember to have fun.